NC Math 1 released items, calculator active. Question 24. Two stores have movies to rent. I'm old enough to know that we used to rent movies. We went into a store. You're probably watching this thinking, who rents movies? Because we just stream them. But yes, people used to actually physically go to a store. They would order well, actually, when I was a kid, it was a VCR, VHS tape. Ask your parents about that. Or a DVD if you're a little bit more modern, a little bit younger. But anyway, you used to buy a movie, take it back home, and you have to pay to get those movies. I know, shocker, right? So anyway, rant over. The first store charges $12.50 per month membership fee plus $1.50 per movie rented. The second store has no membership fee, but charges $3.50 per movie rented. Here is the question. What is the minimum number of movies a person would need to rent in a month for the first store to be a better deal? A lot to unpack here, but as always, you should pause and try this question. So we're going to set up some equations. Here we go. Let's go over it. Three, two, one. So first, I'm going to use my trusty variables X and Y to represent these two stores. So the first store, I'm going to call X. I'm going to call the second store Y. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, actually, ooh, yeah, I can go with that. Um, actually, I'm not going to call the second store Y. I'll show you why. So we're going to call the first store uh, Y1. Oh, you'll see why in a second. The second store I'm going to call Y2. Got to clarify on this one. This is why I did that. Okay. The first store charges $12.50 per month membership fee plus $1.50 per movie. Now, movie is going to be your like variable. How many movies do we got to rent? And notice that this one also charges $3.50 per movie. So the X is actually going to be the number of movies rented. Now the Y's just depend on the two stores. So let's look at store one. Okay. So for store one, we're going to say $12.50 per month membership. Now there's only, um, let's just say we're talking about 1 month. We don't have to worry about a number attached to that 12.50. That's going to be your constant. Okay, we're paying $12.50 each month, regardless of how many movies you buy. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add, because that's not all you're paying. If you're going to rent a movie, you're going to add $1.50 per movie. But the $1.50 per movie, the movie is going to be X. So we're going to attach the X next to that. So that's store one. Now, store two, there is no membership fee. So that's going to be like zero. The y-intercept is zero. But you are tacking on a bigger charge per movie, $3.50. So 350x. So those are the system of equations you're going to ask. And now you're going to ask yourself, what's the minimum number of movies a person would need to rent in a month for the first store to be a better deal? So what we want to do is we want to plug in some numbers for X and Y until we figure out where this number is going to basically be more cost effective. And I think a graph will help with this one. So I keyed those equations in exactly as wrote them. Now we don't need the one there or the zero or the zero after the 50s, but that's not going to hurt. It's going to give you the same graph anyway. So now you might just blindly click and say, okay, well, 6.25, but it says what is the minimum number of movies? You're not renting 0.25 of a movie. You're renting a whole movie. So now we got to visualize, well, what happens if I plug in six for both of these? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I can make a table of values easily here. Oops, doesn't like that table when I have a one. So let me get rid of that real quick. Let's try it again. So there we go. And then I can go here and do the same thing, make a table of values. And if you go through and click, let me get rid of these annotations here real quick. So if I go through and do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4. So you can just click on it and press enter and it'll give you some values. Let's look at that first one. Now that first one, if I rent six movies, I'm paying 21.50. You see that I'm still paying more than this one. For that second one, if I rent six movies, I'm only paying 21, right? So six is going to be a little bit too small, but you can't rent 6.25 movies. So let's look at seven. If I rent seven movies from store one, I'm only paying 23. Whereas if I rent seven movies from store two, I'm paying $24.50, 24.5. So the better deal starts when I rent not six movies, not 6.25 movies, but seven movies. Okay. A better deal means I'm paying less. So the better deal, paying less. And that answer is going to be seven. You can stop the video now that you know, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of a breakdown here with six movies. So this is going to be 12.5 plus 1.5. And I'm going to plug in, actually, I'm going to say X, and I'm going to say 3.5X, and I'm going to make just two lines here so your brains can kind of see these in the same table, okay? So if I plug in my value of X for here as 6, um, what do we get for the answer? For that first one, I'm going to get 21.5, and then that second one, I'm going to get 21. So I'm going to write those down. And then for 7, I'm doing the same thing y'all do. I have to go back and forth on the screens. I can see why that's frustrating. 23 and 24.5. So 7 movies. This is going to be paying less there, so that's going to be there. All right. A lot to unpack on that question, but hopefully that makes sense. Thank you for watching.